Hello everybody, I'm back with another video finally. Talk about the best of intentions, but more hours at work mean less hours of making videos, so I apologize for that. But I had to do, it was my turn for the Make It Monday at All That Scraps, so I thought I'd do a short little, well, who knows if it'll be short, but coloring video. I'd had some requests on how I colored up the Lovebirds from Sweet November stamps way back in like January. So I'm getting around to that finally. I'm going to be using them more on a spring themed card. So they'll be a little bit different colors than I used the first time around. We're going to be making them Bluebirds today. So I'm just going to jump right in. I've got my color list right here so you can kind of take a look at that. But we're going to start with the boy bird. And I am going to, since we're doing Bluebirds, using a B21, B23, B24, B26 combination on the blue part of him. So I'm starting with my lightest color. And I took a look at images online of Bluebirds and to kind of get their patterns down on where the colors fall. And I'm still going to take some kind of liberties with that and change them up just a little bit because their whole head is a dark blue, but I like to keep the faces on my images pretty visible, so I'm going to kind of variegate from the darker blue down to a lighter blue on his face. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's totally, they're happy little cartoony images. You can make them look however you like. And with the boy Bluebird, the blue does go onto his wings. And kind of on his back. I'm going to leave his chest area blank for now. We're going to do a different color there. And then his little tail is blue as well. And I just kind of use my lightest one to lay that color down. Now I'm going to go up to the B23. And I'm actually going to fill in on where I'm going to have my darker color now, coming towards the front of his face. And I'm even going to bring it down a little bit, give him kind of a widow's peak look. And just pull that darker blue a bit around his face there. And fill in little feathers up top, just like that. And then on the wings, I'm going to kind of fill in, leave a little bit of the lighter blue there just so we can kind of identify where the bone in there might be, and so it's a little bit lighter. It's out towards the light a little bit more. And it's just going to, again, you're taking its artistic license with it, but it's going to help give it a little bit of dimension back there. Pull the dark blue under his chin a bit, and then on the back side and down here under the tail as well. Okay. Now I've got the B24, and going right over top of that, just not pulling it out as far as I did the 23, but adding the shadow further back on his head here and the wing. Finishing it off with my darkest is the B26. And that's just getting a little bit of the blue back here, that dark blue. I'm not even going to bring it down into that V very much, just a touch. And just spotting it on that side. And then here, just kind of underneath that wing bone, kind of pulling it. And I'm not being, as you can tell, I'm not worrying about blending or being really precise with it. I'm just laying down my color. Kind of always flicking it in the direction I want it to be. Okay, growing out of him. Okay, so now I'm going to work my way back down. So I'm back to the B24, and this is where I'm going to start blending the colors together. So I'm just going to kind of pull that 26, the B26, out a little bit. And I'm going to move my image just so I'm always kind of pulling towards myself. It makes it easier to color. I'm going to blend out this now on his wing, just right over top the 26, down underneath his wing and underneath the chin kind of area here, and of course on the tail. Now I'm going to my B23, and we're just going to continue that, though I'm not going to start all the way back here on the B26. Instead, I'm kind of starting in the 24 area. Just kind of pulling. Getting in that little shape of his face with this. And then blending out the wings. Okay. And now the B21. I'm going to work in the opposite direction, blending up into the B23. And we're just going, getting that really nice and wet so we get a smooth transition of color. And I'll even go right over top those eyes because I can always go in with like a Sharpie white marker and add that catch light back in there. Okay, and then I'm just going to fill in the white space that I left on these wings. I'm going to bring this around, and don't be afraid to pull it even into a little bit where our other color is going to come in here in a minute, because that will give us a nice transition from the kind of coral pink and into the blue of his body. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do for the blue. So now we've got his little breast. That's going to be, let's see, for him I pulled E93, E95, and a little bit of R32. So I'm starting with my lightest, the E93. And I'm just going to get that color right over top that little bit of the B21 that I have here. I'm going to blend right into that. Pull that color down. And the very bottom, I'm going to leave, again, because we're going to transition into kind of oyster white. So, leaving that for now. Now my E95, and that's just underneath this chin here, anywhere where it's going to be a little bit darker, down here on this side of his body. My light source on this one, we're going just kind of from the front on. I'm not doing any from the left, any of the right. It's just going to be kind of a spotlight there. And then I'm going to do R32 and just a touch of this to bring in a little bit more pink than the E93 and 95 have, but not too much because it is a more coral color that I noticed in the pictures of the Bluebirds. E95 again now, we're going to blend back down. E93, just blending. Okay, so now while that is still wet, I'm going to put in my kind of off-white, oyster white color. And for that I use an E50, E81, and then the colorless blender. And I find that gives me a nice kind of oyster white. And I start with my E50. I'm coloring right up into that coral color. And then I'm going to use my E81 down here at the bottom, where kind of his body's curving under towards his feet, so it's a little bit darker down here. And that's just going to blend right into the pink down there. And then just my colorless blender, just to help smooth that transition there. Okay. Oh, and I forgot his little blue wing back there. Sorry about that. So I'm just going to quickly throw in some B21. Do a little bit of 24. It's going to be pretty dark back there. And 26. And then I'll blend that back again with the 21. Just a quick little... There we go. Okay. And that is drying nicely. It was a little muddy, but as these colors lighten up, it's looking a lot better. Okay, so T5, T7, they had little black, grayish black beaks. So that's what I'm doing. Got my T5. And I'm going to go ahead and do his little feet the same. And the T7. And again, not being super precise, just getting the color on there. And then back to my T5 to blend the two. And blend those feet. Okay. Now, our little girly bird aren't quite as colorful as the boys are, so she's actually going to be a combination of W's, the grays, the warm grays, W1, 3, and 5. We're going to start that on her face over here. And again, I'm going to do the same kind of lighter pattern on where her facial features are and make it darker towards the back of her head. And I'm not being super careful with my going over the edges because I am going to fussy cut these out at the end, but I'll try to be pretty neat with my coloring. Okay, so I laid down the W1. Now I'm taking the W3, just kind of giving her some dimension, a little bit underneath her little feathers there, back here on her face. Okay, and then the wings are that same gray, and the tail. And the W5. Just going towards the back there, where it's rounding away from our light source. A little bit underneath her bangs, her feather bangs. There. And then where her little head meets her wings back there. Underneath the tail, the branch back there. Okay. Now I'm just going back down, blending with the W3, pulling that W5 forward a bit more, blending the two together. Okay. And then finishing with the W1. Blending back into that W3. Do the same down here. Okay. Now for her little breast, we are going to do a combination of R000, E93, and E95. So she's not going to be as bright pink as he is, but that's why on him, when I added in my pink in the darker color, this time we're adding in just a subtle pink with our lightest color in the combination on her. So I'm starting with that R triple right underneath her chin there, to the E93, and just a little bit of the E95. Blend that back down with the E93 a bit, and finish with the R000. Okay, and I've left a little bit of space down there because we are going to do the same kind of oyster white down on her belly there with the E50, E81. And I'm going right into that kind of coral color while it's still wet. E81 is right down here. And the colorless blender just between the two. Okay. Let that dry. I might go back in with a little bit more of the E95. We'll see. But we are going to give her the same little T5, T7 beak. And feet. I'm just kind of taking the darker color on the underside of the feet there, underside of the beak, and then filling in with the T5. So it's still pretty dark, but we do have a little bit of shading going on. Okay. So let's see. Oh, and I wanted to add a little bit of R32 just to the inside of his mouth there. Get a little pink in there. Let's see, are we liking that? It's looking pretty good. I think we'll do a little bit of white. Let's see. With I just have a Sharpie poster paint. And right where those little whites on his eyes were. I'll bring the white back in there. Okay. So that is how I kind of approach coloring the little lovebirds from Sweet November Stamps. I hope you enjoyed this video for the All That Scraps Make It Monday. And you'll be able to see the finish card that I make with these guys there. And on my blog as well, 1000sheetsofpaper.blogspot.com. So thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in another video sooner rather than later. Bye.